Flopsy bunnies. It is sad that the effect of eating too much lettuce is soporific. I've never felt sleepy after eating lettuces, but then I am not a rabbit. They certainly had a very soporific effect upon the Flopsy bunnies. When Benjamin Bunny grew up, he married his cousin Flopsy. They had a large family and they were very improvident and cheerful. I do not remember the separate names of their children. They were generally called the Flopsy Bunnies. So there they are, Mr. and Mrs. Bunny and all their little bunnies. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As there was not always quite enough to eat, Benjamin used to borrow cabbages from Flopsy's brother, Peter Rabbit. You guys heard that name before? Peter Rabbit? I have. Who kept a nursery garden. Sometimes Peter Rabbit had no cabbages to spare. When this happened, the Flopsy bunnies went across the field to a rubbish heap in the ditch outside Mr. McGregor's garden. So there they are. They're ready to dig up some vegetables. He has his basket. She must be a girl. It's got pink on there. Mr. McGregor's rubbish heap was a mixture. There were jam pots and paper bags and mountains of chopped grass from the mowing machine, which always tasted oily, and some rotten vegetables, marrows, and an old boot or two. One day, oh joy, there were a quantity of overgrown lettuces which had shot into flowers. The Flopsy bunnies simply stuffed lettuces by degrees, one after the other. They were overcome with slumber and lay down in the mown grass. So there they are, eating all these cabbages right here, eating all the vegetables. Benjamin was not so much overcome as his children. Before going to sleep, he was sufficiently wide awake to put a paper bag over his head to keep off the flies. The little Flopsy bunnies slept delightfully in the warm sun. From the lawn beyond the garden came the distant cackling sound of the mowing machine. The blue bottles buzzed about the wall, and a little old mouse picked up over the rubbish among the jam pots. I can tell her name. She was called Thomasina Tittlemouse, a wood mouse with a long tail. She rustled across the paper bag and awakened Benjamin Bunny. The mouse apologized profusely and said that she knew Peter Rabbit. While she and Benjamin were talking close under the wall, they heard a heavy tread above their heads, and suddenly Mr. McGregor emptied out a sack full of lawn mowing right upon the top of the sleeping Flopsy bunnies. Benjamin sank down under his paper bag. The mouse hid in a jam pot. Wow, look at that. And there's a bunny, she's wondering what's going on. Can you imagine to be so little that you could go into a jam pot? That's little. The little rabbits smiled sweetly in their sleep under the shower of grass. They did not awake because the lettuces had been so soporific. There they are. They're all sleeping. Look, and she's in her bag right here. She's saying, shh. And there he is, the little mouse in the jar. Remember? He went in the jar. And look. See the hand right here? He's got one of the little bunnies. They dreamt that their mother, Flopsy, was tucking them in a hay bed. Mr. McGregor looked down after emptying his sack. He saw some funny little brown tips of ears sticking up through the lawn mowings. He stared at them for some time. Presently a fly settled down on one of them and it moved. Mr. McGregor climbed down on to the rubbish heap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, said he as he dropped them into his sack. The Flopsy Bunnies dreamt that their mother was turning them over in bed. They stirred a little in their sleep, but still they did not wake up. So they did not wake up when Mr. McGregor picked them up. Mr. McGregor tied the sack and left it on the wall. He went to put away the mowing machine. While he was gone, Mrs. Flopsy Bunny, who had remained at home, came across the field. She looked suspiciously at the sack and wondered where everybody was. Then the mouse came out of her jam pot, and Benjamin took the paper bag off his head, and they told the dreadful tale. Benjamin and Flopsy were in despair. They could not undo the string, but Mrs. Tittlemouse was a resourceful person. She nibbled a hole in the bottom corner of the sack. So she's nibbling on the sack to get the other rabbits out. Just I can help you. Look, she has a little tear coming out because the little baby bunnies are in the sack. But Mrs. Tittlemouse is going to help them. The little rabbits were pulled out and pinched to wake them. Their parents stuffed the empty sack with 3 rotten vegetable marrows, an old blackened bush, and 2 decayed turnips. Then they all hid under a bush and watched for Mr. McGregor. Mr. McGregor came back and picked up the sack and carried it off. He carried it hanging down as if it were rather heavy. So they put all these things in the bag so Mr. McGregor would think all the little bunnies were still in the bag. But they got all the little bunnies out. See, they're all right here. The Flopsy Bunnies followed at a safe distance. They watched him go into his house, and then they crept up to the window to listen. See, there he goes. He's walking up to his house. And all the little bunnies are right here. Mr. McGregor threw down the sack on the stone floor in a way that would have been extremely painful to the Flopsy Bunnies if they had happened to have been inside it. They could hear him drag his chair on the flags and crackled and crackled. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little rabbits, said Mr. McGregor. What's that? What have they been spoiling now? Inquired Mrs. McGregor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 little fat rabbits, repeated Mr. McGregor, counting on his fingers. 1, 2, 3. Don't you be silly. What do you mean, you silly old man? In the sack. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, replied Mr. McGregor. The youngest Flopsy Bunny got upon the walls here. So the little bunnies got up on the wall sill by the window sill, so they could see what's happening inside. Mrs. McGregor took hold of the sack and felt it. She said she could feel 6, but they must be old rabbits because they were so hard and all different shapes. Not fit to eat, but the skins will do fine to line my old coat. Line your coat, shouted Mr. McGregor. I shall sell them and buy myself Baxy rabbit tobacco. I shall skin them and cut their heads off. Mrs. McGregor untied the sack and put her hand inside. When she felt the vegetables, she became very angry. She said that Mr. McGregor had done it on purpose. And Mr. McGregor was very angry too. One of the rotten marrows came flying through the kitchen window and hit the youngest Flopsy Bunny. It was rather hurt. So she found vegetables in the sack that they put in there. And here's all the bunnies outside. And it's a little bird sitting right up here. Then Benjamin and Flopsy thought, that was time. It was time to go home. So Mr. McGregor did not get his tobacco, and Mrs. McGregor did not get her rabbit skins. But next Christmas, Thomasina Tittlemouse got a present of enough rabbit wood to make herself a cloak and a hood, and a handsome muff, and a pair of warm mittens. So there she is at Christmas time, and she has her hat on and her muff and her coat. So she saved it all the way from spring all the way till Christmas. And for more books and resources, just click on the link below, Homeschool for Children, homeschoolforlife.org. Thank you.